Now, we're going to see. Look at this. Ooh, Tolkien Heads. Now, so and here's the thing is, I don't know if the number, I think, it shows different people coming in. All right. So,
look at that.
All right, my
there
dog's
it is.
being excellent.
I wasn't actually going to wear my Gandalf hat unless you really
That's
want me
really
to.
It's really disappointing, Jason. You
I was
send us a
very sad
picture.
too.
I even have a staff.
Oh my god, dude! But do you
Is
have
this-
a pipe?
It's in the attic.
No.
It's
Did you purchase this when you were a youth minister,
or
or for going to a con?
I purchased it for my son for Halloween a couple years ago.
Excellent. All right, I'll be right back. I have a dog that is scratching, and I can't figure out where to stick her.
Last time you gave me a hard time with my dog.
I know the kids went to go return something, and now I'm the only one here. And Dino's paranoid, but does not like being downstairs. She didn't like downstairs. She didn't like stairs or thunder. So, yeah, talk amongst yourselves, and then we'll hit record.
Well, Nick, your beard is looking impressive.
Thanks,
tonight.
man.
I grew my beard back, and then we went to Greece, and like the first night, I was like, it's hot and scratchy. I need a shave, and that was first thing I did in the hotel bathroom.
Where are you posted up right now? Like, where do you live?
Right now, I'm in Northern Virginia.
Okay, so it's probably hotter in Greece than it is in Northern Virginia.
It just felt like it was, I think.
Yeah.
Because one of my pet peeves is I like to dress like a grown-up on airplanes.
Yeah.
So I had like khaki pants and real shoes and like a button-down shirt. So I was overdressed for the heat when we got off the plane.
Yeah. Man, I haven't talked to anybody who dresses fancy for planes in a minute.
Which is funny because I normally just wear shorts and an undershirt like every other day.
Oh, Blaine. Hey, sorry, I saw the chats there. Blaine and I worked on a summer camp together.
What summer camp?
We were in Nashville, and Trevecca had a Lilly grant, and so we had a little youth camp. And I actually made a meme of Blaine, but I don't think I have it anymore.
So how do you know Blaine, Jason?
I don't know that I recognize that name. I'm not sure, but I don't want to out Blaine.
Oh,
yeah. Wait, no, I do know. That's right. I knew his name sounded familiar. Yeah. We are both mutual friends of Will Williman. Will was extolling Blaine's virtues to me a couple months ago.
There you go.
Over drinks.
All right. So we're gonna hit record. All righty. You know, like the part that'll be on the internet. Well, I mean, we're on the internet.
Are you going to have like a special introduction for Tolkien Heads? It's not going to just be the 30-minute homebrew Christianity intro, right?
Look, Jason
going to have his own music and everything.
Jason, I see what's going on right now, and
I even wore my Luke Norsworthy T-shirt for you tonight.
You did. Anyone know what this is from?
Iron Fist.
Yeah. It is, and the comic is significantly better than the Netflix version of Iron Fist. But Daredevil coming back is pretty exciting.
Is Daredevil really coming back?
Yes. Yeah, and Murdoch is playing Murdoch. The guy that played Matt Murdock last time.
He's great.
Actor. Yeah. All right.
He's great.
Hold on. Now
I even love the Punisher, even though it contradicts all of my Christian convictions.
Look, he's just demonstrating the empty vessel that is vengeance. The new Punisher line, though, is wild, but we're not talking about that now. Jason Aaron started it, and he basically was like, I'm going to take Punisher because all the white nationalists are like using the Punisher logo, and he's like, I'm going to ruin the logo for them.
Yes, Jason Aaron, you're the best.
All right. Jason, say something before I hit record. You got clicky for a second.
Something.
You're clicky. Check your cord. Now talk. Maybe you were just hitting your.
I might have been.
No.
How am I now?
What does it sound like to you, Nick?
It's a little scratchy.
Go. Switch. Turn the mic off and see if it goes away. Or just switch mics.
How's that?
Yeah, it's a mic thing. So it's probably a cord. So just stay on that mic.
All right.
But keep the one you were using in front of you because it looks cooler.
It does.
Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah. That air horn means it's time for Tolkien Heads. And this is our preview session, our invitation session. At this time, Trip, I run Homebrewed Christianity, and Jason, did I throw his head up there? Oh, yeah. Who is one of the members of the Cracker and Grape Juice podcast are going to be luring you to join Tolkien Heads. And if you've already joined it, we're going to be telling you some of the exciting things that are coming our way and trying out a number of different segments. You may be saying to yourself, Trip, y'all podcast a lot. Trip, you do classes all the time. Well, why would you be trying out segments? Well, normally my classes are about dead philosophers and theologians, and I do that professionally, right? So this is J.R. Tolkien. This Lord of the Rings. This
also
is what
dead,
I get.
though. Also dead.
Yeah, he is dead, but I'm just meaning I'm not like a PhD in Tolkien. So what I did, I had to holler at a ringer. That's right, Nick. What's up, Nick?
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me on.
Did you just call me Dan?
No, dude. Man.
Dude, okay.
Man.
After Jason's giving me a hard time already.
He said Dan. He definitely said Dan.
Yeah, I think you call me Dan. You call me Dan. I'm taking it personal. We're gonna check it. Someone listening, did he say Dan?
A little too much weed of the Shire, I think.
It is tobacco. But I called in on Twitter. I started tweeting. I said, look, there's a new Lord of the Rings show. That's clearly a good reason, if you have a podcast, to do something where you get to hang out with all the Tolkien heads. And Nick replied and said, I kind of work with the Tolkien Society and stuff. And I was like, excellent. Jason replies and says, I learned Elvish when I was in school. And I was like, with our powers combined, we can go on a quest. We can go on a quest. So if you're listening to this.
And it's amazing that at least 2 of the 3 of us are married. I'm not sure about Nick.
No, yeah. 3 for 3, baby.
Yeah.
3
wow.
for 3.
That's amazing.
I know I celebrated 20 years of marriage yesterday. Now, look at this beautiful glass, Jason. I got a pint glass here. It's about half and half bourbon and Diet Dr. Pepper, but in a crackers and grape juice glass. All right. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to tell you about the class. We're going to talk about our favorite passages from Lord of the Rings. And each week during the streams, we're a different super zesty, amazing Tolkien scholar arranged by our super Tolkien nerd friend, Nick. Boom. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Your head went big on the screen if you're watching the video right when he blew you a kiss. Each week, they'll also be telling us their favorite passage in Lord of the Rings, where when they're reading it and they see it coming, you get preemptive tears, or you get just excited in advance. Oh, yeah, I'm excited about it. It's like if you're a minister and it's year C and Advent's about to start. And you're like, oh, come on, put me on the preaching docket. No youth minister sermons this time. Anyway, so we're going to have each week a lore dump. That's right, where our in-house Tolkien expert, Nick, is going to be dropping some hardcore Tolkien nerdery, the kind that if you have watched the movies and stuff and you dig it and you're looking forward to the show and you want to know what the nerds know, that's why Nick is going to do a lore dump corner each week, giving us little nuggets of lore from the big legendarium of Tolkien. We're going to play a game called PP Battle or Mordor. And the PP is for prancing pony, who you want to get loaded with at the prancing pony, who you want beside yourself in battle, and who you want to go to Mordor with. And over the time, we're going to see what everyone's different answers are. We're going to Jason is going to tell us if the Legendarium was indeed canon, how he would connect it to the lectionary this week. And if you aren't at a mainline Protestant church, we'll tell you what that means later. And then we're going to play a game, Dumbledore or Gandalf. Who said it? And I believe there's a quiz bowl at the end. We're trying these out, having fun, letting you know about the class. Now, before we jump in, Nick, I would love for you to tell everyone about some of the amazing super nerds that are dropping lectures. There's 4 different lectures, and joining us for live Q&A sessions during the class.
I'm going to go backwards here because our first lecturer is just ridiculous. So we've got our Tolkien class set up in 4 parts. We've got, in order, we've got The Life of Tolkien, Tolkien's Creation of Middle-earth. We've got Tolkien and Beowulf, of which he was a scholar and translator of, still influential to this day. And Tolkien and Faith, our final lecture. And so working backwards, Tolkien and Faith will be Reverend Tom Emanuel, who is a UCC minister. I think he's also a member of the Process Party. And his lecture is going to be sick. Process Party. 3 for 3 married, 2 for 3 Process Party. So from there, we've got Tolkien and Beowulf, which will be Chris Vaccaro, who is spectacular. He's a Beowulfian scholar. He's a Tolkien scholar. He does queer work on Beowulf and Tolkien. For the Creation of Middle-earth, we've got Steve Yandell, who also does he's a medievalist, and he also does some queer work on Tolkien and literature. And last but not least, we've got the utmost Tolkien historian alive, John Garth, who's given us a little insight into the life of J.R.R. Tolkien. So when John responded, I about peed my pants. So.
Oh, yeah. So if you don't know John Garth, you don't know that like all 4 of the people joining, this is their like super nerd quest, right? Like they are to Tolkien. Like they love Tolkien like I love John Cobb. Like they know what high school he went to. And anyway, so I'm super pumped about that. Now, I'm thinking what we want to do right now, and this is going to be fun. But Jason, since one, I want you to share a bit about how you got here, but then I think I want you to go first as we talk about our favorite passages. And you can use that to introduce yourself. And part of it is we didn't want to introduce ourselves by saying like when you first encountered Tolkien, right? If you're in the Facebook group, everyone's been sharing it and stuff. And that's like too easy of a question. We want to go, what's that passage, Jason? When you see it coming, you're like, oh, I can't wait to get here.
I guess what I'd like to say is, so you mentioned me learning Elvish in middle school, and so I'm a Christian. I'm a minister. I didn't become a Christian until I was 17. I discovered Tolkien long before that. And I think the trilogy especially did 2 things for me. The first thing it did was give me someone in Aragorn who was struggling with the ambiguity and the question of whether or not he would be better than the family whence he came. So I grew up in an incredibly dysfunctional home with a father that I had a tremendous amount of antagonism with. And so, I discovered these books at an emotionally vulnerable time, and I found in them someone with whom I could identify as a hopeful model. That was like super important to me. And the other component to that was that if nothing else, the legendary, like all this stuff, right? This Tolkien built an entire world. And so even like years and years before I became a Christian, Tolkien showed me through this story what it meant to be part of a story formed community. That like all, so many of the characters in the Lord of the Rings are making decisions informed by the stories they learned of those who came before them. And that's not like an on the nose like Christian parallel. And there's never been a time in my faith where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just like Middle Earth. But it helped me understand. It gave me the tools to know what Christian community is supposed to look like, without the beards and the pipes and swords.
But if you do hang out with your friends at church with pipes and beards and swords, as long as you aren't killing people,
yeah.
If people want, and they send in the questions, if any of the chat things we could see, but if you ask the right question, you can find out when Jason almost got arrested with beer and smokables while hanging out with Trip.
Not the first time either.
Not the first. But it's a good story. One of the things that actually came in my head there about like story communities that form around stories. When I last taught philosophy of religion in the University of Edinburgh, we're talking about the way narratives shape different religious traditions through the ages and stuff. One of my students wrote a paper on how Comic-Con is a community built around shared stories. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I just say that in case someone, it doesn't realize like that's important. If you are in a community that take a group of people that have a fantasy draft for a particular sport, take it seriously and listen to things, you can find narratives that shape communities. And I think one of the things that strikes me about Tolkien's narrative is the themes it's addressing deeply are still the questions we're wrestling with.
Yep.
In so many different ways. And he tells a narrative in a universe where hope isn't a waste of time, and faithfulness to friends is one of the greatest virtues. And anyone that lives a full life takes time to smoke their pipe and have a drink and tell good jokes. And if it's a good thing, it's worth singing about before any other. Like the main form of proselytizing is
even
singing.
If you don't want to read all of their songs.
Well, I've heard people do that. But we don't look, if it's your first time going through Lord of the Rings, I already had an email from, I'm not going to name names, who said, but I have to have read everything Tolkien wrote multiple times. And did you cry writing the copy for the lead page? And I was like, no, you don't have to have read it all. If you've just seen the movies, it's like, I'm going to start reading the book. Anyway, you're going to tell us the passage though, Jason.
The passage that's most emotionally resonant with me.
Yeah.
I can't give you page number off the top of my head, but it's when Gandalf is teaching Frodo about the importance of seeing Gollum with a perspective of mercy. Hands down.
And one of the things about that passage, and there he picks up the notion of pity. Which I believe I don't know if it's in the lecture, but it's definitely in the last book I read on religion and Tolkien. He there is picking up Augustine's notion of pity and using the language that St. Augustine used when preaching on the parable of the Good Samaritan. They're like, what is it that animates like the virtuous person? It's someone that looks at the other, and pity comes before anger, spite, and judgment. And I occasionally can do that. But one of the reasons I love reading the books, and since becoming a father in lockdown, Elgin and I read it out loud together. And like when you pause on high quality Gandalf moments like that, you're like, yeah. I was like, we read Lord of the Rings and The Republic out loud. And Paul Tillich's sermons. So that's about as revelatory of indoctrinating your son on my side.
And not to get like too theology nerd, right.
You started clicking. Your mic started clicking again.
Oh, my mother.
Yeah, that's right.
Not to get all like theological right off the bat, but it's I think that's one of the differences between like the Lord of the Rings and like the Harry Potter novels, right? Is that the enemy in Tolkien's world is this power that enslaves. And so you don't really get a sense of, you know, the Dark Lord's armies are like villains. They're creatures and they're slaves. Gollum's an example. You know, he warrants our pity. You know, versus like, you know, Voldemort's a villain, but all the people, you know, all of his conscripts, like they're all individual villains too. And so I think, you know, Tolkien, you know, has a really deft way of creating a world that is resonant with how Christians from Scripture are to perceive the world.
Yeah. All right. Now, Nick, before you share yours, I want to make sure if you're joining live or later, if you're in the group, if anyone knows like that passage for them, right, where you go, boom, this one's coming up, I immediately get pumped. I'm going to bet other people are going to echo yours, which that action scene is actually really good in the movie as well. But like some of the best dialogue scenes, because so many of them are, at least my favorite, are Frodo and Sam in Mordor. Those get narrowed down and that kind of stuff.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. All right, Nick. All right, Nick.
All right, fellers. So I tend to read The Lord of the Rings around fall, and so out of the 3 volumes, The Fellowship of the Ring is my fave, which is not as epic as the other 2. It's very homebodied. It's got some of the same tone as The Hobbit, and it's one of those books that it kind of reminds me of my own little journey. I came to the books later. I saw the movies as a kid, had them on repeat, nerd style, growing up, and I didn't read them until college. And I was kind of going through what a lot of people go through. I was a religion major trying to be an evangelical Nazarene pastor, and just kind of, you know, wasn't sure where I fit in on the spirituality thing. And reading The Lord of the Rings really kind of gave me a peace and grounded me. And Frodo goes through something similar, where he doesn't really feel at home in the Shire. He wants to follow Bilbo on a journey. He's conflicted because the ring obviously does a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to read the passage where he's just sold Bag End. He's in the woods with Pippin and Sam, and they're about to basically move to a different place so that he can hide, so that the ring wraiths don't kill him. So this is him in the woods with Pippin and Sam. And he has just sang "The Road Goes Ever On," the sweet little poem that Bilbo does. So good. So Pippin says, "That sounds like a bit of old Bilbo's rhyming. Or is it one of your imitations? It doesn't sound altogether encouraging." "I don't know," said Frodo. "It came to me then as if I was making it up, but I have heard it long ago. Certainly it reminds me very much of Bilbo in the last years before he went away. He used often to say there was only one road, that it was like a great river. Its springs were at every doorstep, and every path was its tributary." And so I really like the imagery of the river there. And so he's like in the woods, transitioning. He's not quite in the wild, but he's still in the Shire technically, but things are kind of becoming uncanny. So I get stoked every time I get to the woods with Tolkien and the Hobbits.
Oh yeah. That is one of those bits that if you've watched the movies first, which I read before I watched the movies, but it had been a while. But then when I started rereading because the movies were out, you realize how much like Tolkien didn't want to leave the Shire, and it made me nostalgic, you know, in a sense, for like when you actually have a home. Like part of our current culture is one where you move around tons of time. Like you never really have the same friends at the same pub or coffee house and all that kind of stuff. And what would it mean to like really know, like, I've been content, and I feel like I need to do this, but I know I'm going further away than I've ever been. And what I'm like, I don't understand that. And then to find out that those are the memories that were present when they're in Mordor driving it, or, for Merry and Pippin, like when they're sitting there trying to convince the Ents to get rowdy. Like what they're thinking of are all the people who also never left and they got forced to, and like what, moves them forward. And,
Yeah, and Frodo, just the idea where I'm a very much like a free spirit where I was like, I'm ready to go places, but this book made me realize, like you said, that nostalgia, like how much of a homebody I actually am. And even Frodo, he's like, I'm ready to go. And then he's like, gets to Rivendell, and he's like, you know what? I'm ready to go home. This is crazy. I'm good. I'll give it to Elrond. We'll let it be all right. And then you're like, nope, you're in it for the long haul.
Well, and it's interesting how the hobbits, who are the only true altruistic protagonists in the story, are the only ones truly at home, right? I mean, Strider's wandering around, the elves' world is passing, Gimli's not even aware of his people having died. Yeah. The orcs are, not natural. So it's, yeah, they're truly at home. And yet, but you also have that like Augustinian thing with Frodo, that he's at home, but not quite at home too.
Yeah. Now, Jason, your mic did weird stuff again, but you can look at that while I read my passage. Now, this is a new passage that I didn't anticipate being like the passage until my last reading in lockdown. And I've always noticed the role of of Lambus running through the story of Lord of the Rings, and given lockdown, and in Scotland, lockdown was legit. Like, you couldn't go more than 3 kilometers from your house and all this kind of stuff. And it went on for a long time. And we were homeschooling 3 people in a country we didn't really have friends. So it was an intense experience. And we're reading Lord of the Rings. And then in the chapter, this is in Return of the Kings. It's like I think it's like around page 950 or so. I have not actually found my copy of Lord of the Rings, so I had to look up a download an illegal PDF and find it. So but this is they have slowly noticed the whole time, right? What is preserving that? Returning home. Now they know they cannot return home on the food they have. They only had a little lambus left after Sam finds Frodo in the tower and saves him. And they've now like gone through the whole pretending to be orcs and that kind of thing, and they're getting near the very, very end, and they're deciding what to do. Once they've decided they can't go back, that they shift in who has hope left or not. Anyway, this is the passage. It goes, the Lambus. This is as they get near the last eating it. The Lambus had a virtue without which they would long ago have lain down to die. It did not satisfy desire, and at times Sam's mind was filled with the memories of food and the longing for simple bread and meats. And yet this way bread of the elves had a potency that increased as the travelers relied on it alone, and it did not mingle with other foods. It fed the will. It gave strength to endure and to master sinew and limb beyond the measure of mortal kind. But now a new decision must be made. They could not follow this road any longer, for it went on eastward into the great shadow, but the mountain now loomed upon their right, almost due south, and they must turn towards it. Yet still before it stretched a wide region of firming, barren, ash-ridden land. And I remembered that passage at one point thinking like, oh, this is high quality. Like, what happens when you're down to the last thing? What happens when you're sacrificing yourself? What happens like when you're giving yourself for your home that you can't return to, and all this kind of thing? And like, what is the gift of Lambus when you relied on it alone and didn't mingle it with other foods, when just the hope of finishing the journey in the face of your own destruction? Then what happens, right? Then there's this new kind of vigor and hope. And I just, yeah, I mean, you can imagine what a minister does with that, right? Like, I mean, Tolkien being a Catholic, like the very center of his faith was the sacraments. So there's that. But also, like, what is it to carry something, right, that bears the light and such into Mordor, that preserves you and all that kind of stuff. And here's the part that hit me. This is a parenting moment, hopefully, while Jason figures out his microphone. I'm reading that with Elgin, and in lockdown, I don't know if people had this experience, but on top of a giant earth-wide crisis, on top of a giant crisis of the globe, you have all this time with your family and friends, and you're like, wow, these are these amazing humans. They're stressing me out and it's overwhelming, but also I haven't got to spend this much time with them. And then they start asking questions, and having a 12 and 13-year-old at this time, all of them are about, like it was George Floyd protests. It was a growing awareness of the ecological crisis. It was democracy going to work. And we were in Scotland, so it's like getting reports, from home, all that kind of stuff. And I realized what kind of presence would I be for him later in his life when he's no longer at home? And like, what is it you want in the bag with him as he goes when there's nothing else left and you don't know if you get a return trip to home? And the power of the Lambus there described, like, and if I could have just kept reading, it brings back more vivid memories of the Shire, even though they're never going. It inspires them to tell a story again at night, and they hadn't told one for 20 pages. It made me go like, what is it I'm giving my kids? Like, and thinking of Elgin, starting high school now, like what would Lambus be? Like the thing I hope, if that's all else is there, like, is it a gift that can nourish you when you're on your worst times? And then, because it was lockdown, I was definitely tipsy. It was late, and I start just bawling. And he's like, "Why are you crying, Dad?" And I was like, "I just want to know, am I giving you Lambus for when life's difficult and I'm dead and gone?" He's like, "Why are you talking about dying right now?" Like, I just, you know what I mean? So yeah, there you go. And Jason's back, so that's exciting.
That's a good story.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, are you ready, Nick, for lore excitement?
I am so ready for lore excitement.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna hit one of these buttons. We'll see what sound effect your lore gets.
What's your sound effect for knowledge bombs?
Ooh, let's see. Lore dump corner.
Oh, yeah.
Nick brings lore. Get pumped.
Ooh, the shock jock. Straight from Mordor itself, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, transition from me crying and talking to my kid to lore dump corner with Nick.
So I like it. The tone. So the first
Yeah,
part,
you could take over for Alex Jones like tomorrow.
Oh, I plan to. He's going to be gone. I'm taking over his whole empire.
Sandy Hook was real.
True. So I've kind of list these out by 10, and so there could be less, there could be more throughout the times we meet. But I'm kind of break these down. And so the first one, we're gonna go all the way to the beginning. So if you're a movie fan, or if you just read Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and you haven't touched the Silmarillion or anything beyond that, we are going back.
What's the Silmarillion?
Hey, what's the Silmarillion, you ask? This right here is the foundational history of Middle Earth, put together by the elves of the coming ages, the first, the second, and the third age. And what this does is that all the things that you hear in Lord of the Rings, when you hear about the great enemies and you hear Aragorn talk about the queen of the cats of Queen Beruthiel. It all comes back to this lore. And so it reads very much like the Bible or a history text in a certain way. And so at the beginning, you got to learn about the Ainulindale, which, what's the Ainulindale? It's Elvish for the creation story of Middle Earth. And so I'm going to read you a little passage here from the beginning of Middle Earth itself. So here we go. There was Eru, the one, who in Arda is called Iluvatar, and he made first the Ainur, the holy ones, that were the offspring of his thought, and they were with him before aught else was made. And he spoke to them, propounding to them themes of music, and they sang before him, and he was glad. And it came to pass that Iluvatar called together all the Ainur, and declared to them a mighty theme, unfolding to them things greater and more wonderful than he had yet revealed, and the glory of its beginning and the splendor of its end amazed the Ainur, so that they bowed before Iluvatar and were silent. One more line, hang in there. Then Iluvatar said to them, of the theme that I have declared to you, I will now that ye make in harmony together a great music. And so this creation of the Ainur, and I'll get to what the Ainur are and who they are. But basically, we got some creatio ex nihilo type god in Middle Earth. We've got Iluvatar, Big Daddy Eru, and he calls forth the Ainur, which are very much like lower G gods, and he calls them to create with this musical theme. And so the Ainur are the general spiritual beings that are created by Iluvatar. And then there are two subsets of Ainur. You've got the lower G gods, the Valar, and you've got the angels, the Maiar. And so Gandalf and Sauron, they're Maiar. They're the same level. You see Sauron in the movies, you're like, this dude is like the equivalent of Satan. Kind of, but not really. And you've got the Valar, the lower G gods, and these really resemble like the classical Greek gods, and even Norse gods too, like Odin and Zeus and all that good stuff. And so this is like the beginning. All the Ainur, you got Gandalf in the beginning. You've got Sauron at the beginning. You've got all these other gods, and they basically work together to create the Middle Earth that we see in the movies and in the books. So there's our first little piece there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. The two things about that that always stick out to me are, one, the choice of creating by music, because music is something like that. Should you even create, like if you're Mozart, you're like Mozart on peak Mozart day, you can be Mozart, but you cannot be the symphony. Like music is something that even in its compositional perfection requires a community and enactment for it to happen. And that creation's described that way, I think is wonderfully beautiful. And it's the other part is that running throughout Tolkien's work and his self-understanding is that one of the vocations of being human is being created co-creators, right? Like to create is at the very heart of what it means to be human. And when we create things that are compelling and beautiful and inspire and all these kinds of things, like it like you are creating because you were created to create. And that both the music angle picks up that theme, and then the fact that in the story it's actually very similar to if you did an amalgamation of the two Hebrew Bible creation stories, right? Like, but those two themes, like I mean, they always make me happy. I'm avoiding going into a diatribe because we're gonna hang out multiple times, and I get excited. I've just been excited all day.
No, and I think, like you said, that every being is a creator because Iluvatar is a creator. So everything that he brings forth has to create or is instilled with creative ability. And Tom is actually going to talk to us about further about Tolkien's whole philosophy / theology / anthropology of art is called subcreation.
Yeah.
Which means that, like you were literally just saying, our humanity means that we create. So
Yeah.
and it's here at the beginning in the Untitled. We get a little sneak preview.
Yes. And one of the people just commented about C.S. Lewis and Tolkien both having worlds created from music. Who stole from who? I'm going to guess we should ask John Garth that in 2 weeks, because John Garth has written the definitive Tolkien biography and then 2 other books about him. But I know which one's better. I'm just saying. Saying. Plus, this is what I told. Well, I guess since it's on the internet, they might see a certain family member of mine. When they were concerned, they're like, normally, you do sketchy theology things on the internet, and sometimes like philosophers that don't believe in God. They were, the kind that gets upset about atheism for Lent and that kind of thing. But they were like, but J.R. Tolkien, isn't that like D&D? And I was like, J.R. Tolkien led C.S. Lewis to the Lord. And this family member was like, but still, I don't trust wizards and goblins.
But then at the same time, when C.S. Lewis was like, hey, I'm going to bring people to Jesus through the Chronicles of Narnia, Tolkien was like, nah, dude. No.
A little on the nose.
Yeah. I mean, C.S. Lewis is great. It's like...
he's great. He's fantastic.
It's like great entry-level literature. It's just not the 20th century's most compelling, popular, and inspiring fictional universe.
He's like the John Grisham to the Robert Penn Warren.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, now do you want to do another one of the things now, or you want to do it next time?
I want him to do it.
Yeah, I want you to fix your mic again. Jason, I want you all to know that Jason, how long have you been running Crackers and Grape Juice podcasts?
Years. And
how many times has this mic just decided to sound like you're speaking through a fan? Is this a regular occurrence and you're pretending it's not regular? Oh, I see what's happening. For those of you, the other day, his internet didn't work when we were practicing for this, testing of new technology section. So yeah, maybe next week we'll have to do a GoFundMe to get you a mic cord that works. Okay, so let's do one more nerd thing, and then prepare yourself for a quick little game. Now, and after we do it, we'll put in the group for everyone to get to do this yourself. But your PP, who you want to go to the prancing pony with, also PP is also process party. That was the joke. It's not in reference to any phallus. Just to clarify, for people that don't know, who you want running sidekick in battle? Like who's the person you want to count kills with when you're trying to with the Battle of Helm's Deep, and then who's journeying with you to Mordor? We're gonna do that next. So be thinking about it. If you have answers for one of those, and you're in the group and stuff, pop them in any of the chats, and we'll see how this works. This is the first time I'm attempting to be interactive while doing this, and I want it to be interactive enough. All the people that just download it later go, I might join live next time. That's what we'll see. They're like, no, I can't listen to you at 2.5 speed when it's live. All right, Nick.
So we're going to transition. This will be a good transition because we're still in the Untitled here. And the second piece of lore that I have is that Sauron wasn't the first big bad. Morgoth, Melkor, as he was first known and named, was the first big bad. And so Melkor, like I had talked about Sauron earlier, as kind of like the satanic character in Lord of the Rings, which is, kind of accurate to a certain degree. He kind of replaces Morgoth later on in the Legendarium. But Melkor is the original Satan and in Tolkien's universe. And he basically is selfish, kind of has similar motives of Satan, definitely from the New Testament stuff, and then even from Milton. And he carries a lot of those same motives to disrupt and destroy what the theme, the creation of the Ainur. So I'm going to read a little bit about Melkor and his motivations. So here we go. It came into the heart of Melkor to interweave matters of his own imagining that were not in accord with the theme of Iluvatar. For he sought therein to increase the power and glory of the part assigned to himself. To Melkor, among the Ainur, had been given the greatest gifts of power and knowledge, and he had a share in all the gifts of his brethren. So I won't read anymore, but he basically disrupts the music, the theme. And the way that Tolkien describes it is that there's this beautiful symphony, kind of like what Tripp was saying, of collaboration and beauty. And Melkor comes in and he just rings a single loud note by himself. It kind of is like you're listening at the symphony and all of a sudden someone comes in and they're just like, blah, just comes in, something like that. And he does it 3 times, and each time Iluvatar responds with different types of themes within his music. And so Melkor, after the 3rd time, Iluvatar gets big mad. And he basically takes Melkor's theme, interweaves it into his own theme to basically show like, hey, I am the guy. This is my theme. And there's this dual beauty in it, right? Because Melkor is doing something evil, where Iluvatar exerts his power, but also redeems Melkor's evil intent and includes it into the themes. And so you'll see a lot of that kind of translate into the Lord of the Rings, where you're like, how are these bad things able to be good? How can hope even come in? And it's because it's redeemed through Iluvatar, through the goodness of other people like hobbits and elves and things like that. And Melkor, so the Ainur kind of create Middle Earth later, and Melkor just comes in, he destroys stuff, he kidnaps the elves and tortures them and creates the orcs, he creates trolls, he brings Sauron, the other Ainur, and brings them and brings demons and all that good stuff. And so it sets the foundation for the marring of Middle Earth, and basically all the goodness that is tries to happen and all the quests that happen are in response to the evil he's done.
Yeah. Okay. One, that you said big baddie was just exciting to me.
Oh yeah.
But also, I feel like our resident person that nests themselves in Augustine and Luther with gusto. I'm going to throw the softball question to Jason of all time. Jason, why would Tolkien create a universe where evil does not have its own existence, but is a privation or a distortion or corruption of something good? Like, what's up with that? Like, does Tolkien not even believe, like, that's not trying to take evil seriously? Come on, he went to World War I. He was in the trenches.
I think it's Herbert McCabe who says that the hole in my sock might be a privation, but it's still a problem. I think evil as the absence of good. That's a long and wise Christian tradition. I think Tolkien does a good job of we all inhabit that world, right? But I think he shows it to us in a helpful way.
Before we move on, I forgot I brought these books for further reading for the nerds. And this, if you want 2 books that captures Tolkien's Thomism and Augustinian traditional theology without trying to be evangelized to being a Catholic or an evangelical or something like that, this book right here, The Flame Imperishable by Jonathan McIntosh. This dude's whole study is using the Ainulindale to basically, in other parts of the Silmarillion, to show basically what Jason was talking about. And then you've got this one, which is Pagan Saints in Middle-earth by Claudio Testi. And he basically talks about why evil and paganism, the themes that show up in Lord of the Rings, are assimilated into goodness, and kind of uses Thomas Aquinas' theology and philosophy to do that. So pick those up.
Awesome. No, I just want everyone to note, yes, Jason's microphone started doing crazy stuff again because his microphone hates us. But when I was a youth minister, and one summer we all read a bunch of Tolkien together, one of which the students is writing a dissertation right now on Tolkien. So I feel like that was a youth ministry victory. The explanation of Melkor ruining the infinite jam of divine beauty that was creation was this. Let me see if it plays. Let's go.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
It's a cowbell skit from SNL where you just start adding more cowbell, and we took it and then would start playing famous orchestra pieces, and then someone would start beating a cowbell over it. I mean, like, this is how you add the disruption and mess it up, because the part of the beauty is that the only way, if everything that exists source is goodness and it's generated by this the artistic act of creating music and this kind of thing, then you don't have something that is your own to have as rival. What you have to do is harness the gift that's been given you for a purpose less than it was created for. And then, like, what do you do? Like, everyone knows there's like Inequality Rockin' from the 70s has 2 songs where a cowbell's used for a good moment. But if you have too much cowbell, it can mess things up. And if you're reading Tolkien all summer with a bunch of high schoolers and then playing role-playing games after, and you get in a discussion about the problem of evil in the world, and you're reading some Silmarillion, then the cowbell skill. I have a fever, and the only solution is more cowbell. It happened.
If Christopher Walken isn't Melkor in the Rings of Power, I am going to be so angry.
All right. Here we go. So, Jason, you're gonna go first.
Go.
Hold on. Let me throw your picture up. All right. I'm going to lean in to my microphone so it sounds really important. All right. If you're going to get loaded at the Prancing Pony, what Middle-earth character do you want to do it with?
Gimli.
If you're going to be at the Battle of Helm's Deep, count kills, who do you want as your sidekick?
Éomer.
Ooh. All right. If you're going to Mordor, and you can't pick Sam because that's cheating, because Sam is the greatest character in fiction in the 20th century. Who you want to go with? It's a hard question.
Arwen.
Oh. Movie or book?
Either. I'm just trying to think. You want to go into Mordor with someone whose goodness is intact.
Yes. See, I was going to say Arwen and then to say movie, just because.
We all understand.
High school trip. All right, now, Nick, you're at the Prancing Pony. You get to go to Pound Town with one character from Lord of the Rings. And remember, elves can't get drunk. So that'd be embarrassing. Who are you going?
It's got to be Farmer Maggot. He's going to be paying for everything.
Yes. All right. Battle. You're at 2 towers. Who do you want counting kills?
I want Gandalf. It's OP. It's kind of cheating. I'm going to let it. I'm going to live. And we're
I'd
gonna
like to
kill
play
people.
football with Tom Brady.
Exactly.
All right, Journey to Mordor.
This is hard. I've been giving a lot of thought to it. And I think I'm going to go Hobbit, and I'm going to pick Pippin because he kind of has a redemption arc in Gondor, and he's also hilarious. Keep the spirits up while also maybe pulling a Sam. I don't know. Blasphemy. I don't know.
But you can't expect something other than the Hobbit to give you that action.
Exactly.
All right. So
Trip.
if I'm getting loaded at the Prancing Pony, I want to go with Pippin because 1, it comes in pints. 2, that he's down to sing and dance and shit. Also, I would pick like a cool elf that has all the legendarium up in their head and they might sing and all that kind of stuff. But I hate when I go out drinking with someone and it's clear they're better at it than me. So, but if I'm going to go 2 tower, if I'm like sitting there and I'm up in Helm's Deep and I'm going to be counting kills, Glorfindel, that's what I want to go because I feel like the competition breeds excellence. It's like, are you the second best player on the team and Michael Jordan's there? I mean, he's got kill lists like a champ. He's going to be master. And then you're not really going to die, but I didn't pick no Gandalf. You've been around since like the 3rd, 2nd half. He's like Gandalf is in like the category of like the cosmological constants in Middle-earth lore, like created very early, very, very early. But if you're going to Mordor, I want to go with Tom Bombadil. Tom Bombadil, come on. Like, I love Tom Bombadil.
I thought about him.
He doesn't care about the ring anything, so you don't have to worry about him trying to steal junk. But let's just say, if you couldn't have Sam and then you run into, I don't know, a big-ass spider, you should, like, you run, like, Bombadil's like, Bombadilio, and just, like, singing and dancing. Like, when we destroy this ring, we can go back. We can go back and we can go swimming in your river and talk to your trees. And he's just like, great. I feel like he's leveled up. The other option would be Baelor.
I feel like he'd be like, annoying though, because you'd be like, we have to take this seriously. And
only talk in verse too. He'd be
like,
singing to you the whole time.
Like, this is a serious situation, and you don't seem to grasp that.
It's true. It's true. It happens. All right. So now up next is lectionary and legendarium. And we're going to assess. Oops, that's not a pick. All right. I have hope for the Rings of Power because the teaser that began, nothing is evil in the beginning. Oh, that is true. If you've seen, which I hope none of you have, unless you probably work for one of the 3 billionaires that control the internet, Naked Eyes text messages about every time Lord of the Rings of Power releases something. All right, let's see here. Oh, why does it say Facebook user? I like names, and we could tell. Okay, so this is like at the Prancing Pony. They want to go with Legolas, who can't be outdrank. So maybe if you're trying to stay sober, you go with Legolas because then you just like share one beer, and you're right at the same age, like right at the same affect. Okay, going Aragon, quality call, and he's not going to let you take it, right? Like he'll take a dive. He'll take a dive to save somebody.
Yeah, he'll die for you for sure.
Mordor. So here's a question. Like Glorfindel has all that elfish like shine. Like, would the eye be able to spot that elfish shine? What do you think, Nick? I mean, you look.
This is the very thing that Tolkien talks about in the letters. If you go to the letters, Tolkien, people were like, What? So
Okay,
Glorfindel.
can we let's pause for a second. One, they may not know who Glorfindel is. I should have said something earlier, but also I just would like to everyone to note that when Nick says, "Well, this is what happens in the letters," this is why he's here. Is that he's read all the letters J.R. Tolkien wrote to people who wrote him with fan questions. So like Tolkien wrote, there's a whole how many 15 volumes now, right? Like the history of Middle Earth and all that kind of stuff, and then you got the letters of Tolkien. There's tons of other stuff. And if your response to a game where you're kill Mary Screw variation from Middle Earth, and you're like, what about Glorfindel? Could he go to Mordor? Is this right? Like, anyway, so who's Glorfindel? And I just feel good about having you as our super nerd. So
No, I'm excited. Glorfindel. So this, I mean, it's true. Everything Tripp said was true. Go out and get Tolkien stuff. Do it. Glorfindel is one of the most powerful elves in Middle Earth in the Lord of the Rings. So when Frodo's trying to go to Rivendell, he encounters Glorfindel and a couple elves, and they basically kind of help him get to Rivendell to hide him from the ring wraiths. And so he's the only elf in Tolkien's Legendarium that gets reincarnated. So not resurrected, but reincarnated. Tolkien's elves have the ability to be reincarnated, and Glorfindel is so badass that he's the only one who is it. So, but the reason he's so badass is the reason why taking him to Mordor wouldn't be a good idea, because his power is so magnetic that, as Tripp said, Sauron would be able to see him coming miles away. They know you're coming to destroy the ring. Quest over.
yeah. I mean, so all right. Is it Miley?
By
Bilbo
Bilbo all the way.
Yeah. I look. You have to admit though? Okay, maybe you don't have to, but like if you have read enough Tolkien and stuff, and they become like the characters and everything become so like real to you that they are in dreams, and you think it coheres with the written testimony of J.R. Tolkien. Like, are you slightly disappointed at the eschatological banquet you don't get to hang out with Bilbo? Like, see that's like once I started dreaming about particular characters in the Legendarium, I was like, oh, unlike my grandmother, I don't expect Bilbo to be at the eschatological banquet. So, anyway,
You just made me really sad.
I'm just telling you, you haven't thought of that before.
I'm really sad now.
Okay, Jason, you're gonna fix your microphone again, because it is doing this before you do the lectionary in the Legendarium. So we're gonna play a game before that called Gandalf or Dumbledore. Now, Tripp thought this was a great idea. That's all I gotta say. And there wasn't universal agreement among the three of us that this is fun. But I have, in the last year and a half, read Lord of the Rings and the first 4 books of Harry Potter with different children. And I take notes. So I made a list. And I think it's kind of funny that a lot of times wise wizards say junk that usually you expect to either have like some new age vibe behind it on an Instagram post or maybe on a poster with a cat. But then they say stuff and you're like, oh, well, that is the wise wizard saying things. But anyway, all right. So I'm going to read it. And then what should we do? We should do, okay, let's just try it. Up is Dumbledore and down is Gandalf. That
like it.
All right. We'll do an easy one first. Let folly be our cloak, a veil before the eyes of the enemy.
Which was it?
This way is Gandalf, and this is Dumbledore.
Oh, okay.
Dumbledore, Gandalf.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Gandalf.
Oh, yeah, that was a Gandalf. All right. It is not despair, for despair is only for those who see the end beyond all doubt. We do not. Let's see.
I'm gonna let Jason go first.
I was waiting for the rest of the sentence.
No, because it gives away who it is. Look, they both either say Harry or Frodo or Bilbo, and you're just like,
I'm
I
gonna
got
go
it.
again, I guess.
Samesies.
All right. Well, to the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure.
I'm gonna go.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, everybody on the chat too. If somebody said down, so play along with us. Get in the
Oh,
chat and guess.
But why random people are just listed as Facebook user? And don't worry, if you show up as Facebook user, like this individual, Facebook user, down, it's not because we don't appreciate your name. It's because wherever way the system is currently working, is well,
You are
Harry has
anonymous.
to go. Which, by the way, if you have to go, you have to go. I understand it's different times for different things. It'll all be on, if you're in the class, on the resource page. But tomorrow, because this is one, us testing things out and going to get input from the people in the class on games they may like to play and all this kind of stuff. But also, one of the Facebook users is named Mike, so I support Mike. But also, we'll post it on our podcast tomorrow on Crackers and Grape Juice and Homebrewed and stuff, and then you'll be like, oh. If you want to join, come on. All right. Ooh, let's see here. Let me find a hard one. Oh, here's one. Numbing the pain for a while will make it worse when you finally feel it.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Jeez.
It's the pros.
It really is
Doesn't sound
the
right.
pros.
What about the treacherous or never distrustful?
I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna go Dumbledore.
Oh, that's Gandalf. Yeah.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
man.
Well, if I'd put Frodo before the sentence, it would have really given him away. I will not say, do not weep, for not all tears are an evil.
Oh.
Yeah, that is Gandalf. All right, I'm going to pick one more. Well, you'll probably know who this is, but it is just a high quality. Well, oh, here's one that I wasn't sure when I read it. Okay. Let us step out into the night and pursue that fighty temptress adventure. Dumbledore. Yeah. I know we had a bunch of Dumbledores on that one, and it is a it is a see. Boop. Oh. So I'm just throwing up some of these people that were responding here. But yeah, like occasionally you get one, and I found the trick of this is selecting it in a way that you don't have it one person being one of the greatest writers of all time and the other one not. Yeah. All right. Now that Jason's mic's working, we can do that. Also, never mind. I'm editing a joke because this is live, but let's just say it was a high quality J.K. Rowling's joke. Who I preached at the cathedral the first Sunday during the festival last August in Edinburgh, and she came, and one of her friends told me that she loved my sermon.
Wow.
It was, the big cathedral, the big Episcopal or Anglican cathedral in Edinburgh. And I wasn't sure because it was the Annunciation. So Mary and Elizabeth meeting and the babies, get excited. And I said, well, it's always fun to preach this text because this is the time that JC and JB were trying to give each other fist bumps, but they were still in utero. And that was my opening line. And about 10% of the room laughed. And the others, I was like, oh, y'all are going to find this sermon slightly different.
Did you like getting J.K. Rowling's praise? Did that make you feel? How did that make you feel? I once had Dick Cheney tell me, "Good sermon."
Okay, well,
Wow.
if I was going to power rank the praise, one,
my reaction was like, maybe it wasn't a good sermon.
you're like, well, did you? But you're like, actually, I just want to go back to the prayer of confession. If any of you have ever signed a water jug used for waterboarding, then you gotta redo your prayer of confession. Anyway,
Christ invites to his table mostly all of you.
yeah, Jason, your mic is now doing it again. Switch to the other microphone.
I did.
You did. So it's just your computer now. Your computer hates you.
Or
All right.
It hates Restream.
Look, I think my mic sounds fine. Nick's sounds fine. Yours, not fine. Not fine. Whoa! It's working right now. I don't know what you did. What did you do?
I toggled back to the shore.
All right. So it basically have a limited time that it likes your microphone. All right. So now,
well, it's good because I already gave away what I was going to say for this. So,
okay. Well, then you can say it briefly because after that we'll do a quiz and then we'll wrap up by letting everyone know what's actually going to happen in the group and all that kind of stuff.
Are you going to cue me up?
Oh, hold on. Let me give you a sound effect. Ladies and gentlemen,
I like
it's
that.
time for the lectionary and the legendarium with Jason Michelli.
Okay, so I thought about this and I mentioned it earlier. I preached. I'm not actually a lectionary preacher, so sorry, but I preached.
You're Methodist. You're like lectionary light. When you got to tell everyone what the lectionary is.
The lectionary
is legendarium is just all the shit that Tolkien wrote. But
the lectionary is a 3-year cycle schedule of scripture readings shared by many denominations: Catholics, mainline Protestants, Old Testament, Psalm, Gospel, Epistle. It is. I did it. I've used it before, and then I got bored with it because it cuts out lots of interesting passages. So anyway, I'm doing a long sermon series through the Sermon on the Mount, and I did the last 2 Beatitudes on Sunday. That is correct, Melee. I did the last 2 Beatitudes, and I talked about the place of the martyrs in the church, the communion of saints. And so this one's easy, right? That the way Tolkien's characters are informed and edified and inspired by the stories of those who came before, the songs they sing. That the church is built on the martyrs, I think plays the same function. That like, look, there are these people who really can live a faithful Christ-like life, and you do not need to be Christ in order to be a Christian. And so I think you could pull out any of the songs of the men of Middle Earth, right? That serve that same illustrative function.
Oh, it's so good. It's you get Frodo, who ultimately fails at the end. He takes the ring for himself, and he gets to go to Valinor, the Undying Lands, the heaven of Middle Earth, even in his failure. So I love that.
So one of my other prior to my last reading, the passage I tear up in anticipation is Frodo and Sam's discussion in Mordor about the songs, right? And Frodo's like really down, like hope. It says in the text like that hope had almost left him, right? And as a reader, you're saying to yourself something like, Frodo might be the only person in Middle Earth doing anything worth a damn at this point, right? Like, so like if he fails, what do we have? And Sam goes and says, like, what about the stories? What about the songs? Right? And reminds him. And then you get him recounting it and going like, what will our song be like? What will your song be like? All this kind of stuff. And then Frodo goes, well, it wouldn't be anything without his Sam. He wouldn't be anything without Sam. and you're just like start to cry. And I think that there are tons of people that are alive today, consciously or unconsciously. And obviously, I'm a Christian minister, so like we use the phrase "cosmic Christ" to talk about the way the heartbeat of moral purpose, values, and things that stream through the universe. So like there are tons of people whose stories are intimately connected with God's deepest desires being made material in the interweb of relations in the world, and most of them don't know, even when they're doing beautiful things, that their story is woven into something that's worth singing about. A lot of us feel like Sam, that we're faithful in situations and we're always ready to give someone else his name and never recognize that in all of our little faithfulness, it builds something worth caring about, even worth sacrificing for. And that story isn't just something of our own. It's something worth remembering, because when future generations remember it, it inspires them to be faithful in their own moment. And for those that are committed to beauty, goodness, justice, truth, and all those kinds of things, I like that Frodo in a moment where he's considering the possibility of hope extinguished, and his friends trying to encourage him. What pulls him back in? It isn't, you know what? You're right, Sam. If we don't get the ring, and by we, I mean me, if I don't destroy the ring and finish my quest, this place is screwed. You're welcome, universe. I'm down. I'm back. He goes, no. The story's incomplete without my Sam. Like without Sam and without friendship. Anyway, so yeah, I love. Anyway, I'm sorry. That it's like I love that passage. Anyway, go ahead. What were you going to say, Jason?
No, like you mentioned the cosmic Christ. It's like I don't know that we pay enough attention to like Arwen's decision to marry. You know, is a taking on of finitude and mortality. That like it's again, it's not on the nose, but it's like, oh my gosh, you could riff on that all day.
Yeah,
it's a condescension.
All right, Nick, we're gonna wrap up by playing Nick was tasked with creating a quiz game that Jason and I would fail and would demonstrate his superiority in Tolkien skill. Now, while he's doing that, Jason, you should do whatever you did to your microphone, because it's now hating you.
Oh my god! I'm just
and I'm going to go to GoFundMe.com to get you a microphone that doesn't hate you, and or Shure should just apologize, because that is an expensive microphone. It should not hate Restream. Maybe Restream and Shure in a fight. I don't know. Nick, you're okay. I see he's pulling up his little do you want to tell people how this is going to go? Because I only know we talked about doing it and tested pulling up the program thing.
So I'm gonna pull up this PowerPoint so people can see. And so we've got the ultimate Tolkien quiz.
Ooh.
As written by yours truly, Nicholas John Sailor Polk. Full name on the internet. Don't steal my social security number. So I think how this goes.
555.
And I'm gonna ask these questions. I'm gonna read the question out loud, give the choices. It's gonna be multiple choice, so we're not flying in blind. And I'm gonna switch back and forth. So I'll start with Jason, and then I'll have Trip give an answer, give the actual answer, and then Trip, Jason, etc. How's that sound?
We're gonna look bad.
Yeah, I'm anticipating it, considering your initial response was, well, in the Tolkien letters. It's like when someone's like, so Alfred North Whitehead, my favorite philosopher, was an atheist. Why did he come to believe in God? And then you're like, well, there's a couple biographies that haven't been published that I've read, and things like that, where you're like, I'm getting uncomfortable. So we hope to fail with the kind of graciousness that will inspire everyone to hang out, because if you go to Tolkien Heads, TolkienHeadPod.com, you can sign up, and 3 of our 4 lectures by like actual PhD Tolkien specialist types are already there. Another one's coming. And on top of it, like one of the perks I just thought about. Now, maybe this is you. If it is, my bad. But a lot of people get really into Tolkien. There are two responses that we are kind of trying to avoid. One, it acts as if religion wasn't important to Tolkien. It was. It's hard to deny it because Nick will tell us the letters. But the other is that it was important, and so somehow that connects to like Christo-fascist religious rights stuff, where you should be an integralist Catholic and are thrilled that Catholics run the Supreme Court in America, and you're like, Orban's awesome. And like, you know, you're like radical orthodoxy on steroids and that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's not what we're doing. So that's, I just think that's important. I think that's important to say. And the other side is Jason and I are definitely learning along with everyone. So one of the goals was to have Tolkien scholars who locate themselves in different places. So yeah, John Garth, probably one of the most famous Tolkien scholars around and stuff. But you also have Buddhist scholars, queer scholars, people that are different parts of the church. UCC, Tom is a UCC minister, which is, I worked at UCC church for a long time. So we're trying to do a diversity, but go like, yes, the presentation of Middle Earth is deeply rich. That can inspire a multiplicity of visions that re-enchant our rather flat and materialist world. And when Jason and Flemming get together, like you'll get like the antithesis of Nick and I's process party version of J.R. Tolkien. So anyway, all that was my vamping because Jason really gave me a hard time about having a 20-minute intro. So I felt all right, Nick, we're quizzing.
Okay. Before we jump into the quiz, I'm going to show a comment. It says John Garth's book isn't available in English. If John Garth has a website, just Google his website. He's got all his books there. Get it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you can get the book if you enter the Tolkien book giveaway.
So true. Share it. And it'll win. Okay, Ultimate Tolkien quiz. Here we go, fellas. First question. What group was responsible for the kinslaying? A. Was it the Noldor? Was it B. the Teleri? Was it C. the Sindar? Or was it D. the Eldar?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go the solid C on this one because kinslaying sounds bad and sin is bad. That's my logic.
I was going with A.
The answer for who's responsible is the Noldor.
Boom.
You know, Facebook user, one of them got it. This Facebook user got it. Let's give a shout out to this Facebook user. And
Maybe they're all named Mike.
no, I don't think they're all named Mike. All right.
That
So
picture
what is
looks like the
Noldor?
casino planet in that terrible Star Wars movie.
What's a kinslaying
Oh.
and what's a kinslaying?
So it's in the first age. It's in the Silmarillion. So elves wake up in Middle Earth and they migrate to where the Valar live, called Valinor. So it's kind of like Mount Olympus. And some elves, there are different types of camps and races of elves. Not going to get into it. It's insane. There's so many. And the Noldor are like they're like the second best elves, but they think they're the best. And they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. So they basically rebel and they against the
It's
Valar.
like Dodgers fans.
No, I was thinking of the Celtics fans. But go ahead.
And so they go to an island because they're trying to go back to Middle Earth from Valinor. They go to their friends, their kins, their cousins, the Teleri. And the Noldor say, Teleri, give us your boats because we don't know how to make them. And the Teleri say, no. And the Noldor say, well, we're going to kill you. And they get killed and they take their boats. And to add insult to injury, they get to Middle Earth and they burn them. So, yeah.
Like Cortez. All right, what's the question number 2?
Number 2. Okay. What ancient myth inspired Tolkien's creation of the island of Numenor? Was it A,
All right.
the biblical flood, B, Atlantis, C, the Pawnee creation story, or D, the legends of King Arthur?
C. I'm going with C.
B, Atlantis. Also covered in Plato's Timaeus dialogue.
Ooh, well, Timaeus, here we go. The answer to question number 2 is Atlantis. But Jason, there's a great book called Tolkien and Pawnee Land, where it explores Tolkien's influence of Pawnee Native Americans culture into his legendarium.
Oh, I've read it 4 times.
Oh, wow.
The best part about that is that you were baiting him into that answer because of a book he's never heard of, and he fell for it. I'm just going with, because you got the whole like how the Earth went from a flat Earth to a rounded one, which is just if Kyrie Irving heard that, it would blow his mind piece. All right. But that'd be a different lore dump corner. So, all right. Question 3.
Okay, question 3. I just want to say we've got the score 1-1. Question 3. What names did Tolkien have put on his and his wife Edith's gravestone? Was it A, Aule and Yavanna, B, Beren and Luthien, C, Tulkas and Nessa, or D, Aragorn and Arwen? What you got?
I want to let Jason answer. I'm pretty confident on this one, so
I mean, just the romantic in me is going to say D.
I'm going to go B.
The answer is B, Beren and Luthien.
Oh yeah.
So we got Trip in the lead here, and I just want to let you know that's a tough question because those are some of the top power couples in the Legendarium. And
Yeah.
Jason, if you didn't know, Arwen and Aragorn are basically the new edition of Beren and Luthien. So you're like half right.
And they're more successful than the new edition as a group. They were more successful after they broke up, and none of those two were more successful after they broke up. But if people have no idea who they are, like this is one of those moments where, like, because we all know, well, you and I know, Jason is having his copy of the Silmarillion delivered this week, and when he gets to this, the poem that is in Lord of the Rings Expelled in Narrative. Oh no, he has it right there. Then, like, actually, you don't have to do this. It's in John Garth's lecture. So if you go to TolkienHeadPod.com and join John Garth, like the greatest Tolkien like living scholar, will tell you about how this single poem around Beren and Luthien, an elf and a human getting all this kind of stuff, like inspires this whole thing. And it's deeply connected to his wife, who, when they were in love, broke out in song and dancing in the woods. And that's why you should have had Bombadil and company in the movie. Anyway, okay, so the next question.
Okay, here we go. Question number 4. What were the first spirits brought into being from Iluvatar's thought? I'll be really sad if you guys don't get this.
Well, it depends on how much we paid attention earlier.
Exactly. Was it A, for Ainur? Was it B, the Teleri? Was it C, the Maiar? Or was it D, the Calaquendi?
A.
I did hit Jody's B on accident. That was for the previous question because the answer is A. We'll go with A.
We got A. But I would have accepted C because my are technically a subset of
Obviously.
Obviously. So, okay. So what do we have? We've
That's
got
obvious. It's 3-2. It's 3-2.
3-2. Okay. We want to keep going with the quiz here.
Yeah, I'm yes.
Okay.
I mean, if Jason wants to quit while I'm ahead, but how many questions do you have?
I'm about grace. I don't keep score. So
Yeah, he didn't keep score. I do.
No,
All right.
I just want to tell people that this is Jason from representing the Howard-Wassian Mafia against Trip in this corner representing the Process Party. I mean, this is it right here.
Can we just
Ain't
be
no
honest
party.
that Josh's comment here, ain't no party like a Meyer party wins the day? Like, ask your
Josh,
questions. Nick,
Josh.
you have to learn. This is your practice. Roll through Trips asides. Otherwise, things just keep going. You don't
This is my
indulge
first
me.
time.
Don't indulge me.
this is how the introductions happen.
So, here's the question. Question number 5, I believe we're on. 6? No, we're on 5. Okay.
This is question 6. No, I don't know. I was counting how many correct answers we had. Never mind.
This is question 5. Okay. So question 5. What was Tolkien's first name for Frodo while writing The Lord of the Rings? Was it A, Beaufort, B, Strider, C, Sam, or D, Bingo?
I'm going to go with D. D, bingo.
Well, I was gonna say D, but I'll just, to be contrary, I'll say A.
All right. Jason, you should have gone with D.
Well, then there's no
Bingo.
contrast.
It's true.
Yeah, he felt obligated. You can answer first next time, and I'll not pick what you say. Then you have a chance for a comeback, Jason. A chance for a comeback. But also, if your name is Bingo, I just want you to know, on behalf of Tolkien Heads, we apologize for the choice of this picture being associated with your namesake. All right, Nick, what's the next question?
Okay, we got question 6. Who fought the Balrog captain named Gothmog? This is a legendary battle in the First Age. Was it A, Galadriel, B, Elrond, C, Myglin, or D, Feanor? Hint, these are all elves.
Yes. I'm going to go with D. Feanor. But I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah,
I just know Feanor is a name. And the top 2 seem like clickbait from Nick.
C. I'll go with C.
Okay. The answer to Who Fought the Balrog is Feanor.
Well, poopy.
Well,
And
I feel like I should actually read this book.
it's really good.
It's really good. It's really good. So since it is 5-2, we'll just make the final question worth 5, Jason. And that way, and you get to answer first, so you can pick anything you want. And I promise not to pick what you say, unless this question is like, who's the coolest hobbit of all time? Because then it's Sam. But if it's not something like that, well, all right, let's do it.
I'm gonna push forward to a more fun question, and because I think we need to end it on a fun note here.
All right, fun.
Okay. Oh, don't look.
Because we might do more. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm gonna assume you didn't see the answer.
So I really feel like this is being set against me now. unless Jason's screen is working about like his microphone. Go ahead.
So this is the final question, the tiebreaker between Trip and Jason. Trip and Jason, what sort of pipe did Gandalf smoke in The Lord of the Rings? Was it A, a church warden pipe? Was it B, a short clay pipe? Was it C, a short briar wood pipe? Or D, a corncob pipe?
I don't know what A means, but I'm going to go with C.
Oh. Well, in the movie, it was a church warden, but that's not correct. So I'm going to go with short clay pipe.
The answer
C.
for our final question is the short clay pipe.
Yeah. And it wasn't hidden in his staff. Though I have to say that was quite the upgrade, right?
I prefer the church warden.
Because it cools it down. If you're a fast smoker, it cools down the smoke before it gets there. If you're just chiefing on that stick, you know. All right. So 1, this has been a lot of fun. 2, if you're in the group, you should tell us which bits we should do again and which ones we should play with special Tolkien guests. But also, you should check out the videos of their lectures. 3 of the 4 are already there, nice and edited for your enjoyment, pleasure. And right next to it is the word audio on the resource page, password and link in every email I send you. And if you click it, you will be able right click it, save as. You can drop that MP3 file on anything you want. All right. That's what you do to get those. There is a link at the bottom where it talks about how to engage. You could join this group, you blah, 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 blah. One of the options is called the Speak Pipe. Speak Pipe. There, you'll hear me say, hey, this is for the Tolkien Heads, blah, 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 blah. You have 3 minutes to say whatever you want. If you need more than 3 minutes, it's probably not going to end up on here. All right. And I may play it at time and a half speed. We don't know. But that is where you drop your questions for the guest, right? Like each week we're going to have a different Tolkien scholar. And after the class is over, during the show and stuff, there's a host of other Tolkien people that are going to come hang out with us on the internet and things. It's going to be tons of fun. But like that is where you leave your questions. The preferential option if you leave your voice. There's that. Or you can respond to the email and text, right? Do that. But we want, when they get on, this is what, and this may be Tripp's thing. I wanted to listen to their lectures, look at it, and be able to look at the books before I try to talk to them so I don't look like I'm uninformed. I'm just deeply insecure as a scholar. I wanted to listen, go back to Tolkien, and get prepared for the interview like a champ. And I thought, why wouldn't anyone? So Nick worked with them to record. We edited their recordings. They're there. Watch them on video. You could download and listen to the audio or stream it there. Send in your questions. When they come on, we're going to hang out with them and talk to them about Tolkien broadly, their lecture, that kind of stuff. We're going to play some games before and after, talk about whatever we want. Any of these bits that you think are more fun or interactive. This is us saying at this point, there's like 900 people that are joining this. Like, what parts of this are most fun? We are having fun. We want you to have fun. We'll nerd out with some Tolkien peeps. And do you really?
I had fun with you, Nick. Trip.
Have fun with you too.
I really feel like you like sputtered my name out. You were like, I had fun with you, Nick. Trip. I had fun with both of you. Not as much fun with your microphone, Jason. But there's that.
Did a little Melkor, a little breaking up the music of the Iluvatar.
But yeah, so we will each week during the live stream, we will engage them about their talk and such, but also Tolkien in general. If you have questions and things that maybe you've only watched all the movies and stuff, and you're like, what do I need to know about this, that? Like, we're gonna have Tolkien Scholar each week and Nick here, and look, it'd be fun. So let us know questions, topics, all that kind of stuff. We're gonna have fun hanging out. And tell your friends. Say go to TolkienHeadPod.com. Join the fun. Don't forget to be in to enter the giveaway. This will come out on we'll promote it on Jason and I's podcast as well. Jason, if people don't know crackers and grape juice, who are the elect that it is intended for? And election was snarky.
It's for everyone, Trip. It's crackersandgrapejuice.com. You can go there. There's a team of us. We're all friends. It's good.
There's that was not the most verbose statement about what you're up to. And Nick, also everyone that is in the class, on the resource page in the next few days, we'll be hooking up a number of readings around the themes of each lecture. From the Tolkien Society has a whole host of different stuff. So we're just working out all that. That'll be up there. Yeah. Any final thoughts between you two? I can't remember what we have or haven't said that we should know going into this.
Sign up for the class, sign up for the giveaway, and read Tolkien's Legendarium.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to. I'll inform you of what I've learned that's excited me.
Ooh, that should be a new bit.
So freaking pumped.
Shouldn't that be a new bit?
Oh, I love
like
that.
Jason tells us his favorite new things while reading the Silmarillion, and it's kind of like you're in.
Feels like the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. This segment is called Jason Tells Us His First Time Reading the Silmarillion. All right, that is a new bit. I hope we get back to that one. Yeah. So anyway, it's been a blast. Looking forward to all the fun, and mostly Nick and Jason. Thank you both for indulging me after multiple tweets saying, "Can't someone want to do something about Tolkien?" Because I love it a whole bunch, and there's a new TV show, which means other people will be interested, and I bet there'll be people that have watched the movies aren't sure. Like, shouldn't we just like nerd out and help them appreciate it? And so, not only will we get to hang out, but Nick's arranged like the like Murderer's Row. If it was like a baseball, like the 2, 3, 4, and 5 hitters, right? Like these are people like you don't leave someone in scoring position and pitch to them. That's what's going on. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you all for being here, and we will hang out with you very, very soon again. So, smoochy boochies.
Bye-bye.